Hey, everybody, this is David with the Afterlife Hour radio talk show. I am the lead investigator for the Paranormal Investigators in Northern Minnesota. Tonight, we have a special guest, Joel from Minnesota BigFoot Research. We're going to pull him in here for a little bit and just have a little conversation about what he does. So, we do have a couple of viewers, so thank you for tuning in tonight, and here we go. Hey, Joel.
Hey, Dave, how you doing?
Good.
Good,
So,
good to hear.
it looks like we already have two viewers. Tonight, it might be a little difficult. The comments weren't working last night, so I was not able to see half of the people's names that were coming through last night. Is we do another radio show as well. We do the ghost stories with fans, so basically just fans. And then this afterlife is for bigger, well-known people that already have, that's already been out there for a couple years and stuff like that.
Sure. Well,
And
that's super cool, man.
it looks like Lucas has joined us. What's going on? Not much. Just talking to Joel today about what he does and how long he has been doing this for, and I'll let Joel take it off.
Hey, guys, this is Joel Sturgis here of After Hours AM Radio. Funny enough, on iHeartRadio. I've been a radio host now for, 30 plus years. I can't remember anymore. Started at 16, I'm 46 now. So, was that 30 years? My God, 30 years of wasted life. Anyhow, I have been doing this for a very long time. As far as paranormal, I've been doing that since 1992. I was a young age of 18 when I started doing that. And it really wasn't for any real particular reason other than just the interest. Grew up in like a haunted house, the normal stuff you'd hear from just about anybody that gets an interest. But then, of course, it was more the research, rather than it's the whys and the hows that drive me, but about the science of it. Okay, we know this is happening, but why is it happening? And then, of course, I'm also a Bigfoot field researcher. And that also is very interesting to me because, we got cryptids out there, and Bigfoot and Dogman are two of my favorite ones to go investigate. Once in a while, Dogman's a little hairy, no pun intended. But Bigfoot is definitely an interesting subject matter. So wherever David's going to go, man, nothing off limits. That's me in a nutshell.
And that's actually, I always wanted to see an actual Bigfoot. I have never seen or heard of it, especially in Minnesota. You hear it more in like Western, Oregon, Washington, stuff like that. Have you came across any actual like Bigfoot sightings in Minnesota?
Oh, tons. Reamer, Minnesota. If you look that up on the internet, that is their claim to fame is the official home or unofficial home, if you want to go that route, of Bigfoot. There has been over 200 sightings in the city of Reamer, that area, Bigfoot. Bigfoot is also really, it spreads everywhere. Minnesota is actually a hotbed of Bigfoot sightings. So you have really what it is a Iron Range, of course, north of Duluth, has a lot of sightings, but really also the western part of the state does. Some of the south, but seems to be the north and the west that seem to have the most concentration of sightings.
So pretty much anywhere that has a lot of wooded area, lakes, stuff like that.
Yeah, the rule of thumb is if a black bear can survive, so could a Bigfoot.
So what's really the difference between a Bigfoot and a bear? Besides that one walks on all fours.
Let's say one's 10 feet tall, about 2,500 pounds. The big difference between the two is, of course, one's a Bigfoot, one's a bear. Bears are, they like to hibernate. They're more standoffish. They're smaller, of course. Bears, we know bears are more, how would I put this? They're not as, I guess, not as standoffish as a Bigfoot is, because we have not really captured one yet, but we're working on that. But bears are the habitat is what I mean. If a bear can live, so can a Bigfoot. The reason behind that is the theories are that they live off many of the same things, berries, meat, kind of a scavenger, but not always a scavenger. There's also also attack deer given the opportunity. They will really do what any other wild animal does, but there's also a lot of people emerging theory that Bigfoot not only lives out in the woods, as we know, but also uses wolves and crows and has advantageous relationships with other wildlife species. And so that could be another reason why we don't need to see them, because they have a relationship like with a wolf or like with a crow. So they know things are in the woods. They know how to avoid us.
Sorry, my mic was off there for a couple
Sure, then
seconds.
not a problem, man. Not a problem.
Is there anything that you would like to tell the viewers, like if they ever came across a Bigfoot, like are they dangerous to you? Like are they going to hurt you, or are they more scared of you than you are them?
I would say 99% of the Bigfoot sightings are non-aggressive. Usually it's a chance sighting. You'll see them walking away. You'll see them walking. They don't normally tend to want to hang around and talk with you or anything to do with you. So normally they're aggressive, although there are stories about Bigfoot being aggressive. But that's a different matter. That's usually if you're challenging them on their turf. They can be aggressive if that's something that you're doing. So if you go out your way to be aggressive with them, they're going to be aggressive with you. But if you're just kind of there being passive, they're being passive as well.
That's kind of what I kind of figured, because I was hearing about a couple other stories. I don't know if you heard of Ohio Grassman. That's actually another name for Bigfoot in Ohio.
Yeah. I have heard about that one. And then, of course, you have the skunk ape down south. You have all sorts of just different names. What comes down to is still a Bigfoot. Now, the Ohio Grassman, if I remember correctly, wasn't he an aggressive Bigfoot?
I actually think it was. The guy was. I was watching a video. The guy was out in the woods behind a tree, and they're maybe 150 feet away from this Bigfoot sighting, and the next thing you know is they watch them, and it just walks away. And then also like the state trooper cams, they actually had state trooper cams put up on the side of the road, and that's actually what caught a Bigfoot on their cam. So which is nice, because that's actual evidence. It's not tempered with, it's the actual state putting up cameras, so you can validate that it's real. They're not going to be just putting photoshopping a Bigfoot into the video.
Yeah, generally speaking, if it's coming from a camera such as a government entity, they're not going to have any reason to be doctoring up their own footage, because they're not there looking for Bigfoot. Exactly. They're doing other things. And there's also a theory that the government is it doesn't necessarily want us to really find a Bigfoot. I've heard that as well. So I mean, it kind of goes all over the board on Bigfoot as far as conspiracy theories of the government. There's a ton of them. But you're right, that was captured on the state trooper camera. There's been other times that they've caught Bigfoot on government cameras. Several times. One of them was when they were watching, I forget where it was, but an eagle's nest. They were watching an eagle's nest, and it was one of those cameras. They're watching the babies hatch, and isn't this wonderful? And they watched a Bigfoot cross underneath the nest. And so there's a lot of that kind of evidence out there, which does seem to be genuine. So these Bigfoot are out there, but it kind of begs the question, where's the body? I mean, that's the biggest question. So where's the body? You get asked all the time, where's the body? Well, we don't have one yet. And me personally, I don't believe that even if you did have the capability, I'm not sure you have the right just to kill one to prove that there's a body, for that reason. Harvesting one may not be the most ethical thing, because people do talk about shooting at them or shooting them, downing a Bigfoot. I'm not so sure, even if you had that opportunity, you'd want to, because who's to say you're going to get those woods alive once you shoot one Bigfoot? Because they don't travel alone. It's not a vacuum.
Yep.
They're going to have relatives, so to speak, with them.
Just like the coyotes and wolves do.
Yeah, if you get aggressive, they're going to get aggressive.
They go in packs and stuff.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And it's much like the attack at Ape Canyon. They come in and they end up getting attacked by Bigfoot because they're on their turf.
And that's actually another episode that I watched. somebody was provoking a Bigfoot,
Hmm.
and just out of the middle of nowhere, they were watching the one, but they didn't watch their back. They got attacked from the
Yeah,
behind.
yeah. That's an interesting story, isn't it? The Ape Canyon. Well, that's the thing is like I was saying, they're not alone. You start messing with one, they're gonna come around. They're smart. They're extremely smart creatures. So smart, in fact, they have managed to elude us. And think of all the cameras we have out there, everything that's going on, all this technology, yet we're still looking for them. But there's still thousands upon thousands of sightings a year.
Yep.
Not all these people can be on drugs. Not all these people can be crazy. So all it takes is one of those sightings to be legit, and you got a Bigfoot.
Exactly. And that's why sometimes with the paranormal field, the Bigfoot field, it's hard to bring it up to anybody, to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
because now today's society, they automatically think you're insane, or they're thinking that you're on some kind of drugs, or they're just going to lock you up in a mental asylum for 72 hours because they think you're hallucinating on drugs or something.
Well, yeah, a lot of sightings. People come to us and say, "Well, you're not gonna, everyone thinks I'm nuts, but this is what I saw," or "I'm too afraid to come forward to what I saw because I don't want people to think I'm nuts." That happens a lot. You're absolutely correct. So a lot of people are skittish. They don't want to come out. They don't want to draw attention to themselves if they've seen something. Especially, some of them are doctors and lawyers and law enforcement officers that they worry about their credibility taking a hit.
Correct. Because
So
they don't
they'll come
want
in
to.
anonymity. Yeah, they don't want to put that out there because they don't want their professional credibility to be questioned.
Yep. Because they don't want to lose what they already have going good for them already.
Yes, you're hit the nail right on the head there, man.
Because that's exactly what I kind of figured. And why is it that the government doesn't want us to document a Bigfoot? Like,
Oh boy,
why are they
there's
trying to
tons of
hide it?
theories. Dave, you hit that's another great question because A, they won't come right out and say there's not a Bigfoot, and B, they won't come right out and say, anything really about the subject matter, but once brought up and you talk to state officials, game wardens, DNR officers, and forest rangers, things like that, they don't want to talk so much about a Bigfoot, but everybody that's down to Bigfoot that has called the game warden in, the bodies just kind of disappear.
And that's strange.
They just kind of go. They take the people off the scene, and next thing you know, the bodies disappear. And when it's brought up, they're like, "What? What are you talking about? No, he shot this instead. He shot a bear instead. No Bigfoot. He shot a bear."
They're trying to cover it up.
Definitely full-on cover-up going on there.
So do you think that actually could also potentially be part of Area 51 covering that up due to the fact that it is considered, like, I can't say they're considered aliens, but they're more of a cryptid, so they're in that classification as an alien, correct?
I know where you're going with this. You're talking about the link between Bigfoots and UFOs, which there is definitely some type of link. And some would say Bigfoot could be an alien, like you're just talking about. I'm not sure. I don't have enough evidence for myself to prove those two are linked at all. But sightings wise, a lot of people do bring UFOs into the fold with Bigfoot sightings. I did see a UFO during one Bigfoot investigation for myself, where we were looking for a Bigfoot, and in the sky, everyone was looking for a Bigfoot. I'm watching the strange orb-shaped craft in front of up in the sky, doing figure eights and ups and downs, and I start communicating with a flashlight and start flashing back at me. And I do think that there's some link. I just want to be able to prove it, and that's the thing. There's some link between the two. It could be an Area 51 thing. It could be everything could emanate from that. We don't know exactly what's going on in Area 51.
No, nobody ever gets to. I mean, anybody that gets close enough, they get shot.
Exactly. Yeah. They shoot first, ask questions later for very good reasons.
And I don't understand, what is it that they're hiding from us? Like, why do they not want us to know about aliens? Like, could they be our allies, or could they be enemies, or could they actually help us? Like, do they not want us to know that?
Well, look at the giant technology jump we had after Roswell. Look at the giant technology jump we had after World War II. I mean, look at us. We're talking. We went from in the 80s to computers that were huge and green screens and clunky to fast forward 30 years and we're holding these little microcomputers in our hands communicating with people. I mean, the jump that we've had in technology is the biggest jump in human history. And a lot of people, a lot of researchers have tied that to aliens and an agreement with our government to give us technology in exchange to be able to take a few of us.
Ooh, that's kind of, I mean, is that probably why they're hiding it? Because they're actually giving humans up?
I think what it is there's a lot of technology to be gained. And power would be questioned if a greater power showed up. Would you follow the power if a greater power came along and introduced itself?
Tell you the truth, I would rather follow the newer power because right now the government is completely crap. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, absolutely, 110%. I mean, they can't figure anything out. They don't even know where the money's going half the time with these projects they're greenlighting or anything else. As far as the government goes, I think that they don't even know truly what's going on. There is a lot of what they call black bag operations and black budgets that deal with this technology. Bob Lazar was a great example. Worked at Area 51, came public, faced a whole lot of scrutiny, talked about the technology and what they had, what they were developing because of the alien race that had given it to us. So I think that there is a lot of give and take. There also could be an agreement in place to stop them, the aliens, when I say them, from taking over. Because if they have this kind of advanced technology, we might be afraid of them. And there could be some alliance going on to ensure that they don't make a move.
And that's probably what Area 51's doing, is kind of controlling it all so they don't end up trying to take everything over if aliens do exist, which I came across the UFO and I still can't explain what I see.
Dave, do tell.
Okay, so I was on, I don't know if you know Highway 107, goes through the little town of Bram.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually, I used to live up in Graston. It's a rural country little area, just out in the middle of nowhere, kind of in the sticks. And it was like maybe 12 o'clock in the morning, maybe 1. And I was driving back home to Isani. And the next thing I know, I look up and all I see is these bunch of lights floating with each other in a formation pattern. And I'm like, okay, that's not no, radio tower lights. That's not an airplane. What could it be? And then like 2 seconds later, boom, they disappear. And it just like the light went gone.
Did they disperse at all when you see it, or did they blink out?
They just blinked right out. Like it was like a light that just literally turned off.
Wow. Damn, what was your thoughts after you saw it? Did you hit the gas a little harder and get out of the area? I don't blame you.
No, I actually turned around and actually wanted to go see what it was. I'm that type of person. If I see something that's kind of paranormal or weird, I'm the type that will go investigate it, even if it's potentially dangerous.
As you should, as we all should. You're trying to find the truth, and you got to get to it. And when you get that golden opportunity to actually see something for yourself, you've got to make every effort to get out there and take a look at it. I'm right there with you. And you didn't see anything after that, or was it just kind of done? Any noticing for yourself? You say missing time. Did you notice anything like that for yourself?
I actually was with my wife at the time. We were they were kind of hovering. I don't know how to really explain it, but they were low enough to be kind of not visible, but it was cloudy that night too. Mm-hmm. But it was just weird how all these lights just literally turned off at the same time, or they disappeared at the same time. At least I counted at least maybe 8 of them, 8 lights. Mm-hmm. And they were just hovering. Like you could see them lightly moving, but not like a normal airplane.
Do you feel that they were taking an interest in your vehicle, or were they off in the distance? What were they doing when you saw it?
They were above a radio tower, to be honest. There's a radio tower that's literally right off of County Road 70 west, going towards Rock Creek. and there's a radio tower out there, and I'm wondering if they were messing with the tower, because they were literally not that far away from the tower.
Sure.
So,
Now, was there any smells associated with it? Did you get out, look around, see if there's any smells or anything like a lot of people report, even if when it is way up in the sky and it takes off, they smell almost like a burnt electricity, like a freon smell.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about, where that smell will be in the air, even when they do see it way up in the air, because it takes so much energy to burst out of there. Did you guys notice anything?
Yeah, I was going to actually say that you were talking about the burnt wire, electrical wiring. It actually kind of smelled like sulfur.
Yeah,
It was like a strong odor of a sulfur, and then once I walked away back to the car, because I actually walked away from the car and went towards the lights, and then they disappeared. That's when I smelled the smell, and then I booked it back to my car. I'm like, okay, yep, I'm done.
Wow, man, that is a cool sighting, though. That is really cool. You saw it, you smelled it.
That's actually what got me into the paranormal.
Really? Well, thank you, aliens. Now we have cool Dave in the fold here.
Exactly.
And he's doing good stuff. So, that's the thing. But now a lot of people, after they see one, they might see the lights. And then they'll think about it for a minute. And they say, but by the time this or happened or that had happened, they'll talk about missing time. Well, why was it 8:30 at night when I saw the lights, and then I wake up at 10 o'clock at night? And it seemed like it went like a snap. So a lot of people see the lights first, but then they'll have an abduction. Well, I'm not saying that happened to you. It doesn't sound like it did. But a lot of people, when they do have an abduction situation, it's that missing gap of time, that they talk about. Because a lot of them won't even realize that they have that missing gap of time until they get somewhere and realize what time it is.
Yep. To be honest, I would love to meet somebody that actually was abducted by an alien once. I mean, just to know what happened.
Have you ever interviewed Travis Walton? Fire in the Sky. Okay.
I would love to.
You get a chance to interview Travis. You do that. You take the opportunity, because he will tell you exactly what it's like, because he lived through it. He's the inspiration for the movie Fire in the Sky. And definitely talk with him, because he has some interesting things to talk about, so vivid, and what they did and what the craft was like, and what everything that was going on. So be worth your time.
It would be. I mean, do you have any ways of contacting?
Oh yeah, I know Travis well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So maybe after the show, maybe we can communicate together, and maybe
sure, not a problem. And it's UFOs are a great subject matter. I enjoy them immensely. And that's another subject matter that doesn't get enough talked about in a lot of ways until recently. What do you think about the government finally coming forward? And I got some thoughts on it, but have you been following this at all?
Actually, no.
I'm saying we're not alone anymore. The government is, right? They're using the TikTok incident, stuff like that, to come forward to say, okay, we're not alone anymore. There's UFOs. But one thing I did notice, they said that there are UFOs, and it sounds like you got a little one at home. By the way, I got 3 kids in my home, so don't worry.
I actually do. I have a 7-month-old that just woke up from her.
Congratulations. Enjoy that time, man. It's an important, fun time. But anyhow, a lot of people have talked about this disclosure. Well, it's funny that they did it right during a pandemic. Isn't that kind of funny? When everybody else's mind is elsewhere and we could care less about that at the moment, that's when they drop some of the good stuff. Like, by the way.
It's like literally, they're literally trying to hide it, and then once something bad happens in like a pandemic kind of thing, then that's when they want to take everybody's mind off of the pandemic, and now let's make everybody think about UFOs. Or
or they use this cover, the pandemic. Here, let's get this out there to the public. We'll shove this news story out there where no one will hear it or won't care about it at the moment, and we can just kind of get it off our plates, and things will be done, and no one will question us. So, I think to some extent that also goes on. Pick your right time to little bits of disclosure, but this have to be a lot bit saying, okay, yeah, we're not alone. There's something to this.
Yep. and it's just kind of weird because ever since about the news, I just don't really pay attention to the news anymore because
Mhm.
it's either about the pandemic or it's about this or about this. Tell us something new for
Mhm.
once. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Mainstream news seems to be a bit of a broken record right now. Constantly about the same thing, and it's on everyone's minds. The pandemic, it's a big deal, and this, that, and other thing. But there's more things going on than what we're even experiencing. But
exactly.
but that is the strangest part about this pandemic, other than the pandemic itself. Some of the news that came leaking out.
Yep, and it's like ever since the pandemic started, they have
Mm-hmm.
not talked about China ever since. Like ever since it's been happened to the United States, they have not
Mm-hmm.
talked about China once. Like what happened to them? They were the first people to be all over the news, and now all of a sudden they disappear. Like what happened? Like
Yeah, it was like they were big news for the minute. It came over here, and now China's a non-existent thing. Right? We don't hear about China, what's going on, and part of it is because they claim that they stopped testing in China. So the numbers look stellar because they don't test anymore. So they don't have any new cases to report because they quit testing. Things such as that, but China, it's kind of interesting. This entire thing is kind of interesting with the COVID because it was developed in the same city, Wuhan, China, that they develop their weapon, bioweapons. I don't know if the two are linked, but boy, that seems strange.
you're not the only one that said that. There's a couple of our fans that actually think that it's a war. There's a war that's going to be happening, but they were trying to use a deadly disease to try to do a silent war. Like they were talking about the conference today with Trump. I don't know what state he was, but they were talking about that they just don't want to talk about it anymore. They just trying to hide it.
Yeah.
I said, watch, right after the election, watch, there will be no more pandemic.
That could be the case. Could it be China's trying to break our economic back? Who knows? Or is it something to do with the election? I think we'll have to wait and see. And I don't think your listeners are completely wrong. To have that thought, I think they're right on point with that. I think there's something to it. If not, they definitely used this pandemic. Some people did to their own to their own benefit.
Exactly, and people are also saying, like Russia, for instance. Why haven't we heard any cases in Russia? But everywhere else, there's a case of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
But why is Russia not having no cases?
Yeah, Russia's an interesting place. I've been to Russia.
I have never been there,
it
but
is,
I want to.
It is a strange, I shouldn't say strange place. It's an interesting place. No news that they don't want to escape doesn't escape. So they may have COVID. I'm sure they probably have some cases. But they're not really the big huggy, kissy kind of share stuff with the rest of the world kind of country. They play most things close to the vest.
Now,
So it wouldn't surprise me.
Now, if the United States did that, maybe we wouldn't be in all this problems that we are in today. Maybe if we kept everything to ourselves like Russia does, maybe we wouldn't have wars. We wouldn't have to deal with having missiles shot at us or, like all the worries that they had. They had worries that Korea was going to shoot missiles at us. It's like maybe if we kept to ourselves, maybe we wouldn't have this problem.
Yeah, North Korea they're an interesting country too. They're very isolationist, aren't they? You don't hear much about coming out of that regime whatsoever, unless they want you to see it. And that same thing a lot with Russia. They do the same thing. We are more of an open society, or maybe too open, like you're saying. Maybe we are just too open to the world. And some would argue that's what got us in trouble with the pandemic. Mass travel, this, that.
Exactly.
There's gives and takes to both types of societies. And I think that they're not wrong. I think that having at least a measure of caution is the way to go.
Yep. And And with the traveling thing, if they would have just shut the borders down when China knew that they had a pandemic going 3 months prior to the United States even knowing about it,
Mhm.
maybe
Mhm.
the United States wouldn't have that problem about with the COVID-19. Like maybe if we shut the borders down, no travel, nobody would have caught it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that is true. It was a mass transit that's caused it. A lot of it was because people that were sick came back from that area, and we all know that in our society of instant travel of jet planes, it doesn't take long for a pandemic or a disease to reach global status. That being said, because the other way before, like for instance, the 1918 flu, it was because of World War One is why we got it.
Oh, you're
That was
talking about the
partially
Spanish flu?
because, yeah, when the Spanish flu came through, we were fighting World War One, and it was
Okay.
raging through Europe at that point. And then the GIs had come home on leave, and that kinds of, and that's really how it got really touched off here. But the benefit of slower travel is it gives you time to prepare. Okay, they
Yep.
got this going on over there. We got time to kind of prepare. We're not now. What is it? When I flew to China, it was, can't remember. It was, what is it, a 12-hour flight, something like that. It doesn't take that long really to get from where we are to China. So, I think that with this COVID-19 though, a lot of it has been overblown by the media.
Oh yeah.
Being a media member, I can tell you a lot of it's been overblown by the media.
That's why
We
I
don't
don't
even
like
report
watching
upon it.
TV
Yeah.
anymore.
We don't
Because
even report on it on our show. When we go live on iHeartRadio, we have millions of listeners. We don't even talk about it. We choose not to because it's just why we can't say anything that hasn't already been said.
exactly. It's like they were already talking about, how Fox 9, not trying to bash Fox 9. Okay. I'm not trying to bash anybody here, but they were putting stuff in words that were not even said. Like they were falsifying information at the
Mm-hmm.
time, and people were calling them out on it because they actually knew what they were saying was not correct. But, and just to not to change the subject, but Jennifer wanted me to, I put this up. She's actually my co-host for Ghost Stories. Um,
Sure.
she was she was supposed to be with us tonight, but there was an emergency that came up. But she will be with us next Friday.
Very cool. Well, hi, Jennifer, and hopefully everything that's going on with you and your emergency, everything resolved itself and everyone's doing fine.
Exactly. So I mean, see, I like this. We don't always talk about paranormal on our shows. We always talk. We can just go on and on and on about different subjects. I mean, with doing a radio show, you don't always have one topic. You should be able to do
No.
multiple topics in one.
Yeah, exactly. The best radio show is the ones where it's just a conversation people are enjoying. It doesn't necessarily have to have any kind of plan or anything. Just get on the microphone, discuss a few things. Now, did she have a question or did Jen have a
Um,
question?
Actually, she said, I feel as though after the election, this will all blow over.
She's not wrong. She's not the only one with that feeling. There's a lot of people with that feeling. I would be lying if I didn't say part of me is not in that same camp. There's something going on here. There's a reason for it going on here. It came the way it did. And of course, they shut down the economy and the schools and everything else for claiming in the guise of a pandemic. Okay, but here's the deal. We were all hiding in our houses with our heads under our pillows crying, oh my God, there's a pandemic. But you know what? We sure could shove a whole heck of a lot of people at Walmart, couldn't we? During that first days of the pandemic. We weren't
Yep.
afraid going to Walmart, were we? There was 50,000 people at Walmart, and they never said to us, oh yeah, by the way, you shouldn't go to Walmart because of the pandemic. Oh, hell no. They never did any of that. So it kind of
Exactly.
makes you wonder how deadly,
What
how
was really
catchy is
happening?
this truly? Yeah. So if they're going to let you go to Walmart and buy your toilet paper, which people did in droves, which, wow, that's a whole nother discussion.
Oh
But
my goodness.
yeah, right. So what I'm saying though is, if it's truly as deadly as it was, right? If this is like a killer, like, oh my God, the end of the world kind of crap going on, mass hysteria, dogs and cats living together, pandemonium, that whole thing. If that were the case, then why are you letting us go to Walmart and Target and big box stores and want us to spend money? There's some bull crap that's going on. There's a I smell it in there, and it's gonna be figured out by early next year. We're gonna find out.
Oh yeah, as of what Jennifer says, I'm gonna post this up. We're not bashing on Democrats or Republicans here, but everybody, we heard it in the news, and everybody thinks it's something to do with this, a democratic illness.
The Kung flu. That's my favorite one. The Kung flu. Well, yeah, it could be. Okay, let's just call a spade here. The Republicans are not. They're downplaying. Okay, I'm just gonna use that for argument's sake because they're not going, oh my God, the sky is falling, right? The Republicans are trying to be more level-headed about this thing. The Democrats are like, oh my God, the sky is freaking falling. But if you elect our people, we can save you. Okay, well, it's all propaganda to make you choose. They're either behind this illness to some extent, or they're profiting off this illness to a large extent. And I think it's the latter. Exactly. There's a lot of control going on here. Do you think that maybe for a second this was a dress rehearsal to see how much the American people will take before we break?
I actually wondered
before we push back.
I actually wondered that myself. Everybody's been telling me that they think it's going to be a diplomatic party here, where we're going to have our first dictator, and everybody says that Trump's going to be our dictator.
Who knows? I mean, really, who knows? There's something going on. This was a grand social experiment to see how compliant we are, how compliant we can be, and a lot of us, me included, I choose not to wear a mask. I don't wear a mask unless I absolutely have to, and even then, it's just come on. Let's just be honest here for a second, between you and me and all of your listeners. And hi, everybody, by the way. Here's the deal. You have a microscopic virus, okay? You have a mask that if you put in a microscope, it looks like a chain link fence. How in the hell is that cloth mask going to stop that microscopic virus? When it's come on, underwear doesn't even stop a fart. How is this mask going to stop a microscopic virus?
It's not. There's no way it can. I mean, that's why. But here's also the problem. In the state of, the laws, we're going to call them laws. That's what I'm going to go off of. I was reading. Mm-hmm. There is an amendment, or not an amendment. What is it? A clause? No. A statute. Yes, there we go. A statute that states that people in public cannot wear a mask. Okay, why are they going against their own statutes?
Yeah, you're right. You're not wrong. There's a statute because you're not supposed to hide your identity. Because for they don't want people wearing masks because of obscure your identity. Law gas stations especially don't want you wearing a mask. Things like that. Yeah, you go into a store right now, you look like you're going to a store full of bank robbers. So they were turning around and tell you, Dave, but we're doing it because of this virus. This is why we want everyone to wear a mask. This is why this is happening. We don't care about that law that you're talking about. But it makes you wonder now, with everyone wearing a mask, I've heard others say that crime has gone up quite a bit because everyone's wearing a mask.
It has. Before, I'll give you a little back history. I used to deliver food. Me and my wife used to go. I used to help her go to places down in Minneapolis. We were in the dead heart of Minneapolis, Hennepin County, the highest population for COVID-19 cases. Okay, we were those people that when everybody was still locked up in their doors, in their houses, we were still out in public. Well, it's kind of funny how ever since this pandemic started, all these stores keep getting broken into. It's everybody's saying, is this a purge? Are we having a purge that's coming? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like, is Minnesota actually having a purge? Like, are we?
Yeah. Well, look what happened not too long ago with the riots. No one was wearing a mask, and there didn't seem to be an uptick of the virus, did there?
Nope.
And that was right in the heart of what you're saying, right in the dead heat of where the virus is supposed to be living.
Exactly, and that's where I was. And I didn't wear a mask because they didn't have that mask mandate at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And look at me. It's been over 6 months and I'm still fine.
Yeah.
I haven't caught the COVID. I haven't, what I actually really think people are talking about, like Jennifer said, look at the guys that do drywall. It still gets through their mask. And it's, it's true. It still gets through their mask. So, I mean, the way I look at it, I think there's something else behind this story that nobody's willing to tell us, even though we, the people, should know what's happening with our country. We are the U.S. citizens. We should know what's going on. And with us voting, it doesn't even really matter our votes. It's the electoral votes that count.
Oh, yeah, electoral college. You can vote till you're blue in the face.
They don't care about us.
People, no. The electoral college is who puts the president in power.
Exactly.
And you don't even know if your vote's truly counted. No one does really truly if it's counted. It's electoral college, because that harkens way back to when the country was first being formed, because they believed that the average man wasn't smart enough to elect their own president. So they had an electoral college to do it. Well, it's still around, and we still need it. I'm a believer we still need it, because otherwise a place like California could hijack an entire election just through population, right?
Yep.
So it definitely needs to be done, but I think some tweaks and some fine tuning could be done with that whole system. But do our votes truly matter? That's a damn good question, right? So we will see. We will see come November.
Yep.
When we watch this whole process go through, it's unprecedented how we have to do this, because hell, I'm doing mail-in ballot because they sent me one. I'll walk mine right down to the polling place and drop it in the little slot, and that'll be it. I'll vote. But what do you think?
I don't vote. To be honest, I don't vote because why? Why should I vote? My voice don't matter.
Sure.
Like, why should I go out and try to tell people that we should, have this as a president? We should have this as a president. You know what we should actually really do? We should actually have a real president that actually cares about the people that are not filthy rich, for once, and care about the poor people. Look at all the homeless that we have down in Minneapolis. Does anybody care about them? No. I mean, yes, maybe some of it may not be from, the pandemic. Some might be that they want drugs and they just, can't pay their bills. But, I'm not going to judge. I'm not the type of person that will judge a book by its cover. I'm the type that will help anybody out until the point that I get hurt in the end, where if I get taken advantage of. And like what Jennifer's saying, like, masks are a joke. It's just a way to control the population and see how many people they can control. The American people, and a lot of us are falling for this bullshit, which we do not. We did put up in here that we do have a waiver that says that this is not for children, these videos. So the language is not explicit, so it will pop out. So we will just, randomly, if we ever say anything, that you're not supposed to. We always say that these videos are not meant for kids. So please do not let your kids watch these videos alone. Parental discretion is advised, due to the fact that you never know what kind of language that's going to be in our videos sometimes. But I honestly really think that this is just, it needs to be over with. It's literally making people lose their minds.
It is. It's making people go absolutely just bonkers nuts, is what it's doing. It's making people go crazy, because they just don't know what to do or what to believe anymore too. So it's really a confusing time, and I think that it can be used to rig an election really easily. I think it could be used to run our country in a different direction than what we want to go into. So it doesn't take much to change the course. All you have to do is say, hey, we got a little virus floating around. We are going to take care. I'm sorry, folks. I have to return this tech. Have you ever seen the show Monster Quest?
Monster Quest.
Yeah, Monster Quest.
It sounds familiar, but
so Doug Hychek and I, he is a good friend of mine, and he is the producer of Monster Quest, and amongst a lot of other TV shows like Bigfoot Meets Legends and da-da-da. Well, anyhow, we got a new radio show on the horizon through iHeartRadio called Untold Radio. And so we're working on this project. It'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a ton of fun where we talk about, of course, you name it. And this will be one of the subject matters that we're going to be talking about. Of course, not only just this pandemic, but a lot of different pandemics that have attacked itself, attacked society throughout the years. So we're going to be talking more in depth. We are actually be having some of the head of the CDC on to actually answer some real questions. We got questions. Nice. They claim to have answers, so we're going to take them to task. So we will be doing that shortly. We will, next couple of weeks, you will be seeing us, talking directly with CDC and taking them to task, find out what's going on for real. For real. Not this crap you see on TV, not this back and forth crap, but what's really going on. And so we got them agree to come on under the guise of anonymity to make sure, other than the fact they work at CDC, but these are higher ups in the CDC that will be coming on to talk to us about the pandemic and what's the real end game behind it.
So pretty much they're real credible sources that will be coming on the show then.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Tippity to the top in the CDC. Wow. So we will be discussing that with them. So that will be interesting.
So then maybe we'll know more about this whole pandemic, because if you think about it, how many other pandemics that we had that made people go this mad?
Yeah, right. Exactly. And the thing with the COVID, it's, for a lot of us, it's no more deadly than the flu. And that's not wrong. For a lot of us, we'll have mild symptoms. Not all of us, but a lot of us. It is deadly. It can kill a certain select part of the population. They're vulnerable to it. But at the same time, if you live with fear, you die with fear. You know what I mean? If you're way over cautious, right? That doesn't help either. That doesn't help at all.
No, that would make somebody go nuts.
Yeah, I think a good balance of smart living along with education of what this thing is would go a lot further than just stay in your house and wear damn masks.
Exactly.
Make the American people be proactive with you instead of telling them what to do.
The way I look at it is let the people do what they want. Instead of shutting the whole state down, look at what it's doing to the jobs out there. Right now, I guess Minnesota is at 20% of unemployment rate. That's kind of high for unemployment rate in Minnesota. And then Trump's talking about, all these jobs opened up on his speech today that he's talking about. All these jobs are doing so great. Okay, what jobs are doing great right now? Look at all these companies that literally lost their business and had to shut down.
Yeah. Look at around us, right? A lot of your mom and pop shops, they're in trouble because they weren't able to open. They weren't able to do business, right? We're watching our economy go down in flames. Look at the stimulus check they gave us, right? They gave us a stimulus check, $1,200, which is a slap in the face to most people. Come on, we get by with $1,200, right? So this economy's on fire right now, and it's going down the crapper. And Congress and the Senate don't seem to be in any hurry to help us at all.
No,
it's almost like it would seem that they're trying to kill off the small business and leave only the larger businesses intact.
Hence why it's corporate.
Exactly. So there's also a lot of gamesmanship economically that's going on here that's going to end up being bad. I guess we'll see how it all shakes out in the next year, right? Because it's going to take a little time to get it through and done.
And exactly like what Jennifer's saying, not everybody gets those stimulus checks. Why is it only a specific few that get them? And then why is it the ones that have to pay child support? Okay, for instance, I have two other kids. I have I have two boys. I have a 6 and 7-year-old boys. And I don't get any of these stimulus checks. I'm running off of my own pocket right now because of child support. I don't get any of those stimulus checks. What about all those people that don't get stimulus checks? How are they being taken care of? If they can't get a job, how are they supposed to take care of their life if they don't get any of these checks that they're so-called supposed to get?
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I agree that if you do pay child support, or it doesn't matter what that financial end of things is, because that's more of a state issue than a federal issue, child support. and they need to eat just as much as anyone else. So taking that money away from them, people that are in the rears or paying child support or what have you, that doesn't do anything to help them find a job so they can keep paying child support. It's very counteractive to what you're trying to do. You know, so it's like a couple of my buddies that have been behind in child support. What do they do right away? They pull their driver's license. What the hell? They can't go to work now.
I just got mine pulled.
Driver's license has been pulled. And so how are they supposed to get to work now, but yet they want them to pay? It makes no sense. None of that makes any sense.
Exactly. And here's another point of that. I actually just got my license pulled. I'm going to be straight honest. I don't care if everybody hears about my personal life. I really don't care.
Sure.
I lost my license. Here's how they're making me be able to get it back. They want me to pay $6,000 in arrears to get my license back. If I don't, then they're going to issue a warrant and still take my license. Okay, how is it going to be helpful to those kids if the parent is in jail? How am I supposed to get out of jail?
Yeah, that's a good point. How can you pay your child support if you're rotting in jail?
Exactly, because in jail, in order to get out on child support warrant, you have to pay all your child support in full. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, do I look like I have $6,000 out of my pocket right now that can get me out of jail?
Sure,
no.
Sure.
If I had $6,000, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be sitting here not working. I mean, I would be out there working if I had that kind of money, but now I can't because they took my license. So now I'm down to not working. So I'm kind of stuck at home with no license, and I have to depend on everybody else to drive me around. And right now, nobody's willing to go out in this public because they're so scared of this pandemic.
Yeah, it's like, it puts an undue hardship on your family is what it does. Oh, the family that does live with you. So
it's bad.
It is unfortunate, and that's a really unfortunate thing to do. I mean, if there's someone that's attempting to do the right thing, and they just make it harder for them to do the right thing. Why would anyone want to keep trying to do the right thing?
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? So it's very demoralizing. So if they end up taking your driver's license and taking this and taking that, and all they do is take, you can't pay, and it's designed for failure.
Exactly. And right, like Jennifer says, can't pay if you can't work or in jail. And it's true. It's like, are they going to, okay, so if you're in jail and you don't have your license, how are you supposed to get work release?
That's true.
You can't go get work release.
Once you've done time in jail, it's harder to get a job.
Exactly.
So it's really there is no good solution to that, but I don't think the solution is to take away a driver's license from somebody that's supposed to be out earning a living to take care of their children.
Exactly.
So I hopefully that gets resolved for you in the near future.
I do too, because right now, in order for me to get my license back, I have to pay $6,000 in full, or a little over $6,000 in full, in order to get my license back.
Sure.
As of right now. So I have a funny feeling I'm not going to get my license back anytime soon. So I might be a sitting duck for a while. So everybody on the online might see me more often. To be honest,
you got to do something to fill your time. I completely understand that.
And being stuck at home, it sucks.
There's a lot of broken systems in our government.
Exactly.
And that's one of them. Tons of broken systems that nobody seems to want to fix or has any interest in fixing because it doesn't affect the rich.
Yep. And the way I look at it, I'm no offense to anybody, but Minnesota is a woman state. If you like it or not, that's what it is. You don't like what I have to say, well, then tune off of my live channel, because right now, I'm going to tell you the straight honest, it is a woman's state, nothing against women, but it is true. Anytime you go into court, who do they side with?
Yeah. I've heard more than one person tell me that.
So, I mean, I don't know. I wish I could run for president, to be honest, but I'll never make it in my lifetime. But, maybe there might be somebody underneath me, maybe one of my kids, who knows? Until the day that people see that this is not right, and maybe they'll put a stop to it, because they really need to start thinking about all these other people besides taxing us poor people. Why don't you start taxing the rich, like hardcore taxing them?
Yeah. Well, isn't that the thing though, right? There's the rich have gotten richer off the backs of the poor.
Exactly.
It will never change until people make a change somehow.
And I want to make a change.
That's the thing that we've seen over and over for generations in this country and in the world. I mean, the poor have always fed the rich. And the richer will get richer, the poor will get poorer. But now we're getting to a tipping point where there's way more poor than there is rich. There's no middle class anymore. It's right, either poor or rich, right?
Yep.
And so now we're at this point to where the poor are speaking out, because this marching, this protesting we have going on, this racial injustice, things like that. It's high time this stuff has been brought to light, and I think that they need to bring to light also the fact that the inequality from poor people. Yeah, I mean, the people need to also be able to be heard that are poor, man. I mean, there's people in food lines right now because they're out of work from this COVID-19. That's ridiculous. As America, this isn't some third world country. We're supposed to be the richest country in the world, and with a stroke of a pen, Congress and the Senate could remedy a lot of people's suffering, but yet they don't.
Exactly.
It is a bad situation, and we will see as we move on what happens. But it's like anything else.
Well, it's also like that. The governor's order. You know how you're not supposed to get kicked out of any place. Rent is supposed to be shut down right now.
Sure, there's a moratorium, on evictions. You're right, yeah.
That, honestly, if they're doing it for that, why don't they do it for child support too? Why don't they put everything on hold for right now?
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's a lot of people that have student loan debt out there that's ruining their lives. I mean, there's a ton of things that can be done differently to help people, But then again, at what point would you start affecting the rich? That's what they're worried about. That's the main thing that they worry about is how does this affect the rich?
It's always about the money, like I said. In this world,
everything's about money.
Everything's about money. You can't live in this country without money. If you don't have money, you're going to be the misfit.
So it's like an old radio friend of mine used to tell me. He used to said, "Money talks and BS walks. And my shoes are all wore out."
Oh my God, that would be a perfect one for me. I mean, I don't know who this is, but hi. Our Facebook right now, it's not allowing me to see names. Just to let our viewers know, if you want to comment, please make sure that you do grant Facebook and StreamYard to work for each other, because right now, if you don't grant permission, we will not be able to see who you are.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a bug going on in the system. I saw that was logging on. This is actually the second time I've ever used StreamYard. It's a good program. It's a very interesting program to use.
It is.
And I noticed that you guys have been doing a lot of StreamYarding, and some of your shows are interesting. You guys are doing a good job out there. I've watched a couple of your old broadcasts. Very interesting stuff. You guys are doing a fine job, by the way. And then, of course, you want to talk a little paranormal, we can go that route, too. I got all night, man. Don't worry.
Oh, that's perfect. And actually, I did find out who it was. It's Susie. If it's the right Susie, she's actually one of the team members of the Paranormal Investigators of Northern Minnesota. So if that's you, Susie, hi, Susie.
Hey, Susie. Welcome to the show.
And yes, we would love to talk about the paranormal because, that's actually what our main company is. It's Paranormal Investigators in Northern Minnesota. We always go to different locations, stuff like that. So, I mean, do you have any recommendations of places that, maybe we could possibly investigate with you sometime?
Oh, man, I've been everywhere. Alcatraz is good. A few other places, but in the state here, ones that everybody could go to kind of thing, because I could see your list. I've been to Alcatraz, been here, been there, which is all wonderful and dandy because radio opens doors for you to go places, right? Be in the media. So it's a little bit different, but everyday Joe to go to places, there's so many great places out there. But the ones that get me are the little known places that haven't been trampled by everybody. And
that's
you get
what I'm
in
looking
there
for.
And it's completely just blows your socks off. Like we found a little place up north, a town called Evelyn, Minnesota, which is by where I live. And it was it's the birthplace of the NHL hockey, right? Very first NHL game was ever played there. It was also a shirt factory during World War II, and they had a lot a lot of accidental industrial deaths on scene, and nobody knew the place is haunted except for the owner that called us and said, "Hey, by the way, I'm having this and this and this and this going on." We walk in there and you can hear disembodied voices talking to you, like who the hell is that? Who's in the building with us? But it happened multiple occasions the same evening. So there's a lot of great places. But if I were to start, Buell Cemetery up here is pretty decent. Everyone's been to Buell. I'm sure you've heard of it up here, right? Buell Cemetery. Yep. Okay. Yep. Everybody goes there. It's not as open as it was. It's closed at 10 o'clock. They don't take a real high opinion of people ghost hunting in there anymore, mainly because of vandalism and stuff like that. It was the bad people, not the responsible ones. It was the bad ones. There's a lot of great locations in this area that anyone could visit. I'm just trying to think of if I had to do a top 5 list of anywhere you could visit and just on like no or low budget, right? The Palmer House is good. That's a good place. Been there several times. The Palmer's decent. Villisca's good. I've been to Villisca there multiple times. I enjoyed my times there. It's a tiny house though. That's something that I noticed when I was in there, was how small the house is in Villisca.
Actually, some of our team actually have been out there. Jennifer and Susie has been out there. To
Isn't it crazy how small it is? Ask him. I was shocked how tiny the place was. You get there and it's just so small.
State their name again.
Let's see here. Sometimes this thing does not like to work for me.
Everybody needs to state their name when they comment.
I already did announce to everybody that, once they comment, please state your name, because we sometimes can't see who you are. It says unknown. But Jen did say that she's been to Villisca. She loved it. I have never been there. And Susie did say, yes, it's hard to get up the stairs at the Villisca house.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting place, though, with a true crime story. And I'm a sucker for a good story and a good true crime story. You can bring them both together even better, But there's a lot of great places out there. Where do you guys like to go? What's you guys' favorite so far?
Tell them we got live.
To be honest, my favorite place that I've been to is the Boyd House. The Boyd House in Boyd, Minnesota. It's a great location. There's children at that location. They like to sing to you at night. Jennifer even says me too about the Boyd House. The Boyd House is a very good location. Jill Shelley, we did interview her before we did the Boyd House, and it was just phenomenal when we went there. Jade keeps telling me she wants to go back, but we should go back maybe in a year, not so close to each other, because
we had the owner on the radio show some time back. I want to say a year ago or better. Nice gal. I have not been to the Boyd House yet. I'd be willing to go out there and check it out. I know one of my favorite places to be is actually Deadwood in the Black Hills. Is very active.
Of course,
that is a very active area, because you have Deadwood, you have the Bullock Hotel, you got everything out there in such a compact area. The hauntings never end. But Minnesota's no slouch. We have a lot in Duluth, Minnesota. You have the Irving there. You got the Depot. You got all sorts of haunted locations. Love to go to you guys sometimes. I think it'd be a hoot.
Oh, it would.
Getting together, you guys would be a lot of fun.
The other place that would be another good place for you to check out is the Edinburgh Manor in Iowa. It's in Scotch Grove, Iowa. We actually went there. What was it? Like a little over a month ago now. And Jennifer did bring up about the Deadwood, and she would love to check that place out. That was actually one of the places that we were looking at about doing is Deadwood area. Yeah,
Deadwood is great because the whole city's damn near haunted.
Oh,
you go in there and everyone's got a ghost story. Every building. We stayed at a hotel the first time I was there, and even though we weren't expecting that place to be haunted, and they started telling us all about it and what had happened, and it's the whole city has that haunted feel to it. And that's the interesting part about Deadwood. And then of course you have other areas of South Dakota that nearby that are just as active. this never seems to end.
And then Susie brings up what about a PAR school in Iowa? Have you been there?
I have not been to that one. I've been to Waverly Hills. I've been to Alcatraz. I've been to Eastern State. I've been to Pennhurst. I have been to, unfortunately, this is the unfortunate part in a lot of ways. Radio, you get to go to these giant glass places like the Stanley. Hey, come over and we'll put you up in the Stanley for a week and you can just run around and enjoy Stanley, the Stanley Hotel. Problem is you don't get to go to these smaller places, because, a lot of them are after radio play. Like, hey, we want advertisements, so come to the Stanley and tell them how haunted it is so we can promote our haunted tours, stuff like that. But I do go to, whenever I can, I go to the smaller locations, like, these smaller little haunts that are there, right? But I haven't been to that one. I'd love to go. So I would love to go to anywhere that's new that hasn't been trampled on by every team in the world.
It's, we always wanted to go to those bigger ones like Waverly Hills.
Sure.
Is one that is a dream of mine to go to. There's a lot of places that are a dream of mine to go to, but I like what you said about those smaller locations that nobody has ever traveled to. I mean, you hear about Ghost Adventures talking about all these places that they've been to, and a lot of people try to go to those same places because they are a big TV show, and my goal is to try to get on one of the channels on TV one of these times, hopefully next year, hopefully, if I can get picked up by one of the channels. But the newer places that nobody has ever explored or even been to, just imagine how much paranormal activity should be active in that place because nobody's been there.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, you're breaking new ground when you go in there. How cool is that? Because, who hasn't been to Bobby Mackey's?
That's another one.
And so it kind of becomes old hat because everybody's been there. It's those little places and private homes. I still really enjoy doing private homes because I like to help people out.
Same.
When they're having some issues, paranormal wise, you can get in there. You can give them some peace of mind. That's the most rewarding part, right there.
Oh, it looks like your wife popped in and said that the motel was very interesting.
Yeah, it was. Deadwood Dick's, it's called. And if you're ever in Deadwood, you need to check this joint out. I mean, if the ghosts don't kind of unnerve you, the freaky elevator that you swear to God's going to murder you because you're in it will. The whole city, though, has an electric vibe to it. The Bullock Hotel is definitely haunted. You go to, and by the way, I want to say hi to my wife. My gosh, I'm horrible, right? Jen, thank you for chiming in. I'm glad you're listening.
That's always a good thing to have, your significant others, people in your family to be there to support you. So, I mean,
she's our biggest cheerleader. I remember, now let me tell you, let me take you back in a time. When I first started radio, I started this little radio show at 2 listeners. Two listeners. That's After Hours AM, right? She's listened to every show for years and years and years. I don't think she's missed, but maybe 2 or 3. Now we have 4 or 5 million listeners. So, it's just blowing up, but she's there the whole time. And she can tell you building a radio show is hard stuff, man. It takes dedication. It takes a lot out of you. I mean, there's a million times I just want to quit and walk away. I'm like, you know what? I could go do something else with my life than radio. I'm sick of doing it. But then just something keeps me going, and then for the longest time I was working for a company called Jones Radio. They were treating me like crap. IR Radio has been the best company I've ever worked with by far. That has given me a platform to speak on, but it took a long time. Yeah, I mean, it takes time and dedication. You'll get there, man. You'll definitely get there.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's bad that there's only 5 people, but it's better than nothing. I mean, when I first started, we only had 1 person watching the whole time, and like Jennifer says, wives can be your biggest supporters. or your significant others can be your biggest supporters out there.
Jen says wives can be.
They as well as husbands. Like, if you do your own
Sure.
show, everybody in your family or your best friends could be your biggest supporters. You never know
Exactly.
who.
You need that person in your corner. I mean, somebody in your corner cheering you on, because sometimes you get down and you just get sick doing it. I mean, and or you get to the point that it's just gets demoralizing. The no's, like, now I'm lucky enough to where I'll email somebody up, say, hey, come on my show, it's Thursday night, and it'll be someone like, for instance, Stephen King. I could email him up, say, you're coming on Thursday night, be there, and he's there because the show is big enough. You know what I mean? But it took a really long time to get noticed. That's the worst part about it, because everybody wants to giant guests right away.
Exactly.
But the problem is that scrimping and that fighting and getting recognized is the hardest thing. Now it's easy, but I never forget those days. Those early days, those are the worst days as far as getting it off the ground. And I've been there. I've been right where you are, trying to get it done. You're doing awesome, man. You're doing great.
I appreciate it. I mean, even though most people probably don't have their babies or family in the live, but the way I look at it is, I'm a father. I have to do what I got to do. I don't have a babysitter. She has to be with me. She has to be with me.
Exactly. Family first, my friend. Hell, I got a dryer in the background. I'm sure you hear whizzing away. I mean, come on. My studio doors are wide open because I enjoy nice open air. And coming on your show or show like yours allows me to talk with you, talk candidly with you. I don't have any sponsorship to worry about. I can just be me, right? And that's the best part about it. And you always got to be you, no matter how big the show is, no matter how big the guest is. Be you, man. You know what I mean? Just be you.
Exactly. Don't hide.
I was
gonna say, don't hide who you are. Don't hide behind a green screen. Just go for it. I mean,
just do it, man. Just do it.
It's the best way to do it. And like your wife says, that she will always be your number one fan. And thank you so much. She is a doll. My baby's Sophie is like, everything to me. I always wanted a daughter, and now I finally got my wish. And well, maybe she'll be my junior radio co-host when she gets older.
There you go. But my advice to anyone that's doing radio right now, that's just starting out, pick a direction and go with it, ride or die, man. And you'll be just fine. Just be true to yourself. That's the only thing that matters.
The way I look at it, I might not have the biggest mic like you do right now. I can see your mic, and I'm actually really jealous. I just use this little, iPhone cord.
Sure.
iPhone headphones, and they work just as well as a $1,000 mic.
Yeah, what is this? This is the Blue Yeti, the Advanced Elite, or whatever. I don't know. It was like $300 or $400. I can't remember what these things run. But it doesn't make my show any better, because it's what you bring. That's what makes the show. The microphone is just the ear. You know what I mean? It's just the ear capturing. It's what you bring is what matters.
It's basically the host and the guest and the person that's talking on the show. I mean, this is the longest I ever done a live for over an hour. So, I mean, this is actually impressive because I never lasted that long.
Sure.
But a lot of people love our shows. They love to talk. I mean, I pretty soon going to have to go anyways myself, because I got to get my daughter to go back to sleep. She shouldn't actually be awake at this time.
Gotcha. Well, I hear you, man. I got 2 little ones, right? And I have a home studio. I have a home studio here because I choose to have one. I don't want to rent. I don't want to go into studio anymore because I have small children at home. And once in a while, we'll be in the middle of doing a radio show, going live AM, FM on 400 different radio stations. Also, my little kids bust out crying, or my dog barks out of nowhere, or what have you, because I tell people, hey, I live a real life here. You know what I mean? It's not going to be sanitation radio. You want sanitation radio, go somewhere else.
Exactly.
You get that. You're going to get real life here.
Exactly. And, that's the way I look at it, is if you don't like it that my kid's in the background crying, well, then I guess it's easy as clicking that little red X on the top corner of your computer screen and just channeling off the show. It's that
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm not
Absolutely.
I'm not here to, impress anybody. I'm just here to do what I love. I love to talk. I'm actually tell you to be honest, I had to take a lot of time to get out of my comfort zone because I do not like public speaking. And
Yeah.
this is actually helping me get into my public speaking because I never liked public speaking. I never liked getting in front of crowds. I never, if I had over 100 people watching me right now, I'd probably get a little more nervous, but 5 people is still nervous wracking. I mean, because you don't know who's watching you. It's like, you never know who it is. And you just go with the flow. Just go with it and let it ride.
Exactly. You'll do fine. You'll do fine.
Oh yeah.
You'll keep growing. Next thing you know, a year from now, you're gonna have 800,000-900,000 people tuning in to see you, stuff like that. It'll just keep growing. It'll just keep snowballing. And so and I firmly believe that.
And I'm guessing this is Susie still. She's like, "Welcome to life. It's not stage setup thing. It's real life." I'm like,
exactly.
It's real life. It's not. I'm not sitting here looking at a teleprompter, reading a script like this and just kind of being boring. Sure. I got to think of something on top of my head to talk about. I can't just.
Takes time. You prepare forever for a guest. You get them on, and then they don't want to talk about what you prepared for. That happens a million times to me too. They'll show up. Hey, you wrote a book, right? Yeah. I don't want to talk about that. Okay, what do you want to talk about? So you just kind of go with it, right? Last night we talked all about haunted rock and roll. We talked about ghosts, haunted ghosts, stuff like that. You know what I mean? And it was a fun, but a lot of your best conversations come from places you weren't expecting. The most enlightening ones. So I don't know. It's one of those deals. Radio is a lot of fun, but paranormal, that's another passion of mine. I'm big into the ghosts. That's how I started, and I kind of fell into the Bigfoot stuff and kind of fell into the UFO stuff with people looking for answers. And hell, I wanted to find answers too, but I was more trying to help them understand the phenomena that they're going through, so I would better understand it. But next thing you know, it snowballs, just like radio, it snowballs. But ghosts are an interesting topic, and it never gets old talking about. What I like the best about our radio show and any show that has this is we get, I would say, we get about 2,000 to 3,000 emails a week with nothing but people's paranormal stories, and they want to be heard on air. Will you be able to? My favorite paranormal experience. Wow, man, I've had a ton. Right? Thank you, Facebook user. I don't know who you are, but thank you so much for the awesome question, Jen. Thank you, Jen, for asking. My favorite paranormal experience. Damn, let me tell you my favorite paranormal experience, and it scared the living hell out of me. I used to work in a radio station in Dallas, Texas, and it was a country music radio station. I was 22, 23 years old at the time. And I was in graveyard shift, and it was a Saturday night going to the Sunday morning. Sunday morning, we used to have a guy come on the radio right after me to get in the booth named Cowboy Roy. Now, Cowboy Roy was an actual real living cowboy, like ran cattle from Kansas down to Mexico and did all that real cowboy stuff. And he was a rodeo rider and bronc buster, whole bit. By this time, when I knew Cowboy Roy, he was in his late 70s, early 80s, but he had a radio show called On the Trail with Cowboy Roy. And he would play the really old country stuff like Hank Williams Sr. and that kind of stuff of his era that he grew up listening to, loved it. Johnny Cash, stuff like that. So now every Sunday morning he would come in, and I would always put a long set of music on so you could transition into the radio, the booth. I normally put about a half hour's worth of music on because he's an older gentleman, took him a little bit to get him all set up to do radio, yada, yada, yada. So he'd always come in, drink a cup of coffee, we'd BS for about 10 minutes, and I'd go downstairs and leave my shift to be over. Well, Cowboy Roy comes in, he pours himself a cup of coffee and starts talking to me about the Texas Rangers. He's a huge baseball fan. At that time, the Texas Rangers are doing great. And he was like, yeah, maybe they can make it all the way. So I'm talking, that's awesome, Roy. That is awesome. Hopefully this happens after the Texas Rangers win. Yeah, I'll never forget. This is important. He crushes his his coffee cup he had, it's just styrofoam, throws it in the garbage. He says, well, guy hit the trail. That was his speech for saying I got to start broadcasting. So I run downstairs. I'm going to go home. And our general manager is downstairs. His name is Dennis. I'm like, Dennis, what the hell are you doing here? You're never here, Dennis. Why are you here on a Sunday? Upper management. He's never there. And I said, what are you doing here? And he says, well, did you hear the news? And I said, well, what news is this, Dennis? Roy died last night.
Oh my God.
What? No, he's upstairs. No, I'm telling you, Roy, I know you're friends with him and stuff, but I want to tell you before you heard from anyone else, Roy's dead. Died last night of massive coronary in his sleep. I want to get here before you heard the news from anyone else to break this to you. And I said, that's really, really horrible you to say that to me, Dennis, because he's upstairs right now broadcasting. And we're going to go upstairs, and I'm going to prove to you that Roy is indeed in the building. Let's go upstairs. And I'm telling him all the way, I said, you think you're funny, but you're really not. This is a horrible trick. Why would you even say that? We show up. No BS. The studio is absolutely empty. No Roy. Music's playing that I did not load into the queue. Music's going, and there's no Roy.
Now that's awesome.
I turned white as a ghost. Oh my God, I was freaked out.
Oh.
And he says, you've been worked a lot of midnights. Why don't you go home, take a couple days off? Obviously, you're taking this really hard, obviously, that you thought he came in. Trying to cover up for me. But I'm telling you, I talked to that dead man for 10 minutes. Him and I talked back and forth. 10 minutes. That's my favorite paranormal experience right there.
Now that's
having that conversation with him.
I would have freaked out, to be honest, if I didn't know that my best friend or a friend of mine or something like that passed away, and then you get your management to come in and tell you that, oh, by the way, your best friend, I know you were friends with him, died.
Yeah,
and you were just talking to him like on radio. You were just sitting there talking to him for a show.
We're up in the break room. And so we go in the break room, and I'm talking to him, and there's a styrofoam cup and everything he was drinking out of.
Oh, that is...
So, I mean, the guy was there. It wasn't like it was my imagination. He came in. He drank the coffee. He talked to me. We talked for 10 minutes about, life and the baseball and, how a Saturday went. And it was like nothing was amiss. I leave. I get the news he's dead. We go back upstairs. There's no Roy. So I got no explanation. I got no explanation for it.
And he looked like
just like anyone else. As solid as anybody else.
That is crazy.
Yeah, but then since this has happened, I've talked to other people. Other people have had that same experience, not knowing that person's dead yet.
I have never had that experience.
So is it because you don't know yet, you're open to talking with them? Because obviously if you knew they were dead, you'd be like, well, wait a minute, you're dead. You can't be here talking to me.
Exactly.
Right? So there's got to be something, because it's happened to many people out there that they've said the same thing over the years. I've talked to them, and they're like, yeah, I talked to so-and-so, and I had no idea they died, 10 minutes earlier. I had no idea. So that was my favorite paranormal experience.
That would make me kind of shaken up a little bit, make me not want to go back for a little bit.
It took me a bit. It took me a little bit to get back into the studio, because let me tell you, that first round of midnights after that, on a Sunday morning, I was listening for those cowboy boots come up the steps, you know what I mean? Because I didn't know if I was going to run into a dead cowboy Roy. This time I knew he was dead. What would I say? Wow, you're dead, but you're still here? I mean, what would I say, So. And
it's always hard to find something to say about that. And then Jen did ask, did you ever have been touched or scratched it or anything?
Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah, I have actually, I have been touched by ghosts. I have been hugged by ghosts. I have, not everything. I have never been scratched by a ghost. Oh. I can say I've never been scratched. I've always been lucky to not have negative attacks. It's always been a lot of it's been positive, and the interactions do happen. But not that I'm special or anything. I just haven't been scratched. But then again, I don't provoke at all. I just go in there and talk to them like we're talking.
You know, same thing with the manor. I didn't go in, you know, the Edinburgh Manor that was in Iowa. It was a poor farm, a mental asylum, stuff like that. Nobody went in there provoking anybody, but a couple of our team members got scratched for no apparent reason. Like,
yeah, I have been yelled at. I have been yelled at. I have been screamed at by ghosts. I have been. I shouldn't say that. I was thrown down a flight of steps by ghosts. That did happen. As far as being scratched, I've never been scratched. I have been thrown down. That was when 2 cops watched me be picked up and thrown down a flight of steps by a ghost.
Oh,
we were on investigation, and I didn't have a team with me. And there was a local lady that was claiming she had a ghost in her house. And the police showed up on scene to talk to this gal that had these dishes being thrown at her and everything else by a ghost. And the cops showed up with their canine unit, sent the canine unit in there. The dog comes out whimpering after went in the house, and there's no one in the house. So I happen to be friends with the chief of police. He calls me up saying, I don't know what's going on in that house, but you might want to check it out. A couple of his off-duty cops said, we'll come with you to do this paranormal investigation. And I was thrown by what I believe to be a demonic down a flight of steps. They watched it happen. These 2 cops watched me be lifted up and thrown, and they bolted out of the house. They ran away. I mean, they were gone. I had no idea where the hell they went. It was, well, where'd you guys go? I mean, I was left alone in this house.
Serve and protect. Where did that come in?
Yeah, I guess it ends up demons. They don't really do that bit. Because when they saw that, because they're complete skeptics. And when they saw that happen to me, they wanted no part of it. And then when I tried to talk to them after the fact, they didn't want to talk to me. They didn't want to talk about it. Then finally they told me what they saw. And I said, well, what did you people see? I just remember flying down the steps. We saw you picked up about 3-4 inches off the ground and thrown.
Yeah, that's definitely demonic. I mean, I would say that would definitely have to be demonic due to the fact of a normal spirit, okay, like a loved one. They wouldn't just randomly do that.
No. What it was in this house, whatever it was, liked to run up and down the steps just maniacally all the time. Boom, 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 boom. You'd hear all these footsteps, right? That was some of the activity. There's a ton of activity going on in this place, but that was some of it. And so finally, after about, I put every trap cam in the world, I put every camera in there in the world to catch this, whatever it was, and nothing was working. So I did the old trick of the baby powder on the steps.
Yep.
And that caught some footprints. And then of course I heard it up and down, so I stuck my head through the threshold of the door and I said, well, these guys stay right next to me. If you're gonna keep making noise, at least come up and interact with us. Yeah, they came up and interacted with me all right. That threw me down the steps into the basement is what it did. And so it was pretty it was pretty mind blowing because I've never had anything like that happen to me before or since, thank God. And it was a trip. I didn't hit not one step on the way down. It was like just tossed. Like someone just picked me up and threw me.
They had to have a lot of energy in order to do that.
Yeah, well, the place was very charged up. It was it make your hairs in your arms stand up. It was very charged up. There was a lot of electrical atmosphere going on, and that was it was really at its epicenter right before I was tossed. It was really ramping up of energy, and that's why I kind of invited it to come speak with us because I didn't want to provoke it because I didn't know what I was dealing with here, but I also wanted to let it know that if you want to come interact, you can do that. It evidently didn't like me invading its space, and I made it known.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oh, it sure made himself known. He or she did not like your presence around, if that's the case.
Well, this poor lady, her son would stand up, would get up in the middle of the night, stand in the same spot for 8 hours. Just stand there, looking blankly at a wall for 8 hours.
That's nuts.
And that was, and the kid was just being attacked, and she had nowhere else to turn. And then kind of the straw that broke the camel's back is when the dishes came flying out at her, breaking against the wall. And so that
I would
was
love to go to this
her.
house.
Yeah, I've done some violent hauntings. I mean, that's not a problem. I normally try to bring a very calming demeanor with me when I go into those hauntings because, you know, anger begets anger and agitation begets agitation. Sometimes that works. You can calm the situation down. Other times they don't want none of it, and they don't want you there. There's a reason why they're there, and they're doing what they're gonna do.
Oh, I get angry when it comes to my team. Once they get attacked, I literally go nuts. Like I start screaming at nothing in the air. Like I just start
Mhm.
saying, "Leave my team alone. Quit,
Mhm.
quit hurting my team. If you want somebody to hurt, come hurt me." And guess
Yeah,
what? Nothing has ever touched me or has ever hurt me like physically. I mean,
yeah.
scratches, that's nothing. Okay,
Mhm.
I'm used to that. I used to live with a demonic presence at my old house where I used to live, and that's actually what got me into the paranormal as well. I was about maybe 11 years old, maybe, and 16, 11, 16, and 18 are the times that I saw this figure. Okay, I was coming out of my room to go to the bathroom, and all I see was red eyes. My wife can contest to this. She was sitting in the dining room. She was looking outside on the front porch, and all she sees is these two red eyes just looking at her. And I was nowhere near. And
Mhm.
also, that's what got me mainly to believe in the paranormal is due to the fact of seeing those red eyes because
Mhm.
there's no explanation of why there's red eyes.
Mhm.
And then also, it sounds like your wife has also had some experiences that scared the hell out of her. It looks like as well.
Yeah, I have a habit of bringing friends home with me once in a while when I go on investigations. I've been guilty of that here and there. I don't think I use my spiritual armor as well as I could sometimes.
Yep.
And sometimes they'll follow me home, and they're usually nothing bad. You can get rid of them real easily. Just say, "Hey, get out of here." It was cool all last meeting to go now, that kind of thing going on.
Yep.
But everybody should definitely watch their back. Don't bring anything home with you. That is always a recipe for disaster.
Exactly.
And I know that a lot of my cases that I've dealt with that were of the darker kind of cases. A lot of them, there's a reason. There's a reason why the demonic shows up. They just don't show up for the hell of it. There's something going on. A lot of people that I deal with have dealt with the occult. Ouija boards are the number one demonic gateway drug for a lot of them.
Exactly. And I don't touch
So
them.
yeah, they'll talk. Well, I didn't really do anything. I don't know why this is happening to me. Other than that Ouija board I used, 4 or 5 months ago, and right after that, things went crazy. What's going on there? Well, could it be opened up a door that you didn't close, or did you invite? A lot of people unwittingly invite things in. I know the demonic likes to pose as children. They like to pose as nice entities. They never come up and say, "Hey, I'm a demon, by the way, and I'm going to be here to ruin your life." It starts as something helpful a lot of times, or starts as something interesting that you want to learn more about. The demonic, they just they infest. They're really good at it. They know how to do it. They've been doing it for a millennia, if
They're
not longer. So I mean, but always there's a reason. For every haunting, there is a reason for the haunting, especially a negative haunting. Because
especially a
demons,
poltergeist.
a poltergeist, yeah, there's a lot of different theories on poltergeists. I mean, runs the gamut from people caught haunting themselves, being a poltergeist agent, to being its own entity. Then you also have thought forms that people can create,
Yep.
things like that. So, I mean, really, sometimes people are haunting themselves.
And that's actually what I think most of the hauntings that I've been or experienced is loved ones. I have never had a nasty poltergeist. I have never experienced a poltergeist.
Hmm.
Um, but I do want to tell everybody, like I said last night, the paranormal is definitely something that you do not want to mess with alone. If you don't know what you're doing, it's definitely could be a disaster for, you know,
Hmm.
somebody or demon to follow you home for one, to hurt you and your family. If you don't know what you're doing, it's not advice to go out and provoke anything when you go to these locations, because if you try to provoke anything, you never know what you're going to bring home with you.
That's so true. That's so true. Don't go look for snakes unless you want to find them.
Yep.
And be ready for it, but also watch your own butt so you don't run into that kind of problem. Unlike I'm an independent investigator, I don't have a group.
So you go by yourself. Okay.
Well, I have gone by myself. I've gone with a group. There's several groups I'll go with that I'll call upon when I need backup that I trust. They trust me, and because I enjoy learning from everybody around me. You know, that's one problem. The paranormal is the egos that kind of get in the way sometimes. You know, you don't investigate the right way, you know, in their opinion. But I'm not that way. I think that everyone has something to learn from everybody else. I think everyone brings something different to the table.
Exactly. Yeah. Like Susie said, that she would love to do an investigation with you, considering she likes to do investigations with other people that are singles.
Sure.
More or lessly doesn't like to go with groups or doesn't have their own groups. She likes to go with single investigators or smaller groups. I don't mind, you know, I don't blame her. I mean, she's a big believer in this COVID, but not big believer in the mask. So I agree on the same thing, but I am going to let everybody know that we are going to wrap it up. My daughter is kind of getting cranky, and I got to go give my wife a break so she can go do what she needs to do. But it was a very good time talking to you, and I would love to reschedule another show with you.
Sure, absolutely, Dave.
And then
anytime.
Also do an investigation too. You know, I mean, you have a lot of places that you've been to that you have a lot of experience. I mean, I always wanted to go to Alcatraz. I always wanted to go there before they decided to wipe that prison off the rock, because with all that salt water, it's ready to, you know, come down.
Oh yeah, it's definitely.
And that's why
get there when you can.
Yep, because there's some areas in there that they don't even allow people to go into anymore because it's actually deteriorating that bad.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And Death Row is one of them, I believe, that you can't go into anymore. And that's sad because, you know, that's where most of the activity would be, is in Death Row, because everybody sat there waiting to be pretty much put to death and killed.
Yeah. Another good one is, of course, Eastern State. Mounds View is a good one. You know, if you're looking to get into a prison, those are the two easier. Alcatraz is a very hard one to get into. But Mounds View, a friend of mine just went there. I've been there several times in the past and really had a good time. So if you guys are looking for a prison to get into, either Mounds View or Eastern State would be better than Alcatraz, because like you said, Alcatraz is deteriorating so bad, so quickly, that it may not be safe to go into.
I mean, if you want to talk off screen or talk off camera about setting up a date, so then we don't leak out to our fans yet until after we get something going, maybe we could talk about going to one of those prisons with you.
Yeah. We got I go through a company called Odyssey Events LLC. Good friend of mine, Michael O'Neill, is and my co-host for After Hours AM is the curator of that. So we will be going back to Mounds View, I want to say maybe mid 2021. So you can get in on that event. It's fairly inexpensive, and it would be a lot of fun. And I think you guys would thoroughly enjoy yourselves. So we do a lot of the event stuff. So yeah, more than happy to have you. So
it would be amazing, because it's, you know, I would love to go to these bigger known places, but then I also like to go to these other places that have never been hit. Or have never been touched. So I mean, we can work out a lot of different things, but
heck yeah, Dave, heck yeah. But I know for now you got to get going because you got a baby to tend to. And thank you so much for having me on your radio show, Dave.
Yes, anytime, and thank you so much for tuning in. Guest live tonight, we have Joel from Minnesota BigFoot Research Team. We appreciate you being with us tonight, and follow us for next weekend. We will be live again. On next Saturday at 8:00, we will be meeting with Reverend Sean Winton, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. So we will be talking to a Reverend as well. So we're going to see how that goes, and we will see you guys all soon. So thank you so much for tuning in tonight. And then don't forget, next Friday, Ghost Stories with Fans with me and your co-host, Jennifer.
Sounds good, man.
Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful night.
You too, man.
Thank you.
too. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Yes,
you guys
thank
make
you.
the show what it is. Take care of each other. Love each other. Until next time, be spooky.
Yes. Yes, be spooky and always love the paranormal. Don't give up. And like I always say to people, don't give up on your dreams, because if you give up too early, you'll never know where to go. So,
Signing off.
sign off.